Good deal. Well, we'll get started tonight. Let me just say this real quick before we do get started tonight. February 21st and 22nd, am I right on that, Jeremiah?
Yes, sir.
February 21st and February 22nd. That's a Friday night and a Saturday. We're going to be having a training session for those that are interested in working in the public school system with a character building program. And we've got a lot of open doors right now, which where Jeremiah can tell you all about it. But there's a lot of open doors right now, and they're really in need of some more people to help them in the school system. Matter of fact, we met Saturday morning. Jeremiah said that he could use 5 people right now full time working in the school system if he had. So Brother Graham will share some stuff with us about Ash. Go ahead, Brother
Just
Jeremy.
today, there's a school in Yakin County begging to come.
Yeah.
Just today.
So if you're even remotely interested in that, in Dakota, if you can get off work that Saturday, it'd be really good for you to come to that. That'd be out of your way, you know, what we're praying about. Even in the future, you'd already have all that in it.
I think that's what in Alabama.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, no, we'll be back by then.
Okay, that'd be good for your fiance to come too. But we'll need to know pretty quick if you're interested in coming, because we're going to be limited on seating. We're going to have it here. So if you can come to that, let us know. Again, February 21st, Friday evening, and then it'll be about all day on Saturday morning. And it's a requirement to work in the school system by yourself to have that class. So again, that would be great if we could get some people here for that. All right.
This Saturday, 5 o'clock, Young Preachers Fellowship.
Young Preachers Fellowship. Thanks to Calvary. Do remember that. And those are some good meetings, man. So do remember that. And try to be part of that if you can. I hope everybody got homework in tonight. And I've heard a lot of excuses in my life. I'm 41 years old, and I've heard a lot of excuses in my life. Dog eating homework. I dropped it in a mud puddle. I walked outside and the wind caught it and blew it away, and a hurricane come through. But for the first time in my life, I heard that a demon erased somebody's heart. And that was the first time on that one. And I just hope that demon got it all put back together yesterday while we was playing golf, and it's here tonight. But anyway, that's a true story, by the way. It's a true story. Brother Brian said a demon erased his homework. And that I think some people, I think Brother Heath said that when he got done with demonology, he was throwing his book away. That he wasn't even keeping it. But anyway, all right, let's have a word of prayer, and then we're going to go to 2 Timothy chapter number 2 and teach tonight out of 2 Timothy chapter number 2. Man, Brother Heath, how about you open us up in prayer, if you will?
Yes, Lord, we thank you for what you do for us, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for loving us. Thank you, Lord, for being God. Thank you, Lord, for choosing us to live the life that we live, God. Thank you, Lord, for the many blessings, God, that we're so undeserving, God. Thank you, Lord, for your Son, God. Pray, God, you touch us tonight, God. Touch the teachers tonight, God. I pray, God, you use them in a mighty way, God. Open our hearts, open our minds tonight, God. Teach us something tonight, Lord, and we'll be careful to give you all the praise, the honor, and the glory, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next Tuesday night, Dad's going to teach. And I asked him to come in and teach and just deal with anything that he wanted to. And what I asked him was really to deal with something he wished somebody would have told him when he started in the ministry. So he's going to teach for us. I thought that would be good next Tuesday night. And then the following Tuesday night will be exam night. And you do have an exam on this class. It will come directly from your homework, okay? Now, here's one thing that I'm going to do just to help you, just to be kind. I am going to allow you to do that open book because I've not dealt specifically in that book. I have a lot of it, but not specifically in that book. So we will allow you to do that open book. You can use your homework. Go ahead, Jim.
My exam will be an exorcism on Dakota.
Say it. say everybody is going to fail that class. Because we tried a long time, haven't we, Brother Josh?
I just want Brother Dallas to be here for it.
But that's going to be the exam in my class. I'll have your homework back next week, so you can use it and your book on my exam. 2 Timothy chapter number 2, and let me read you 3 verses out of 2 Timothy chapter number 2, and we'll look at this tonight. I thought out of here tonight. Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Jesus Christ, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. Verse number 3 says, Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. Brother Heath, did you ever pray?
Yes.
Did you really? Where was I at? Because when I just started reading, I thought, well, he never prayed. We interrupted. Did you really pray? Y'all lied. Did he really pray?
He was back on the golf course, wasn't
I guess I don't know where I was at. I mean, that's like wow. Ryan Hayes would go, blows my mind. But anyway, here's what I want to talk to you about for a little while tonight, and kind of wrapping the class up. I hope you learned something. I know this class has been really practical this time. Next semester is going to be the life of Samson. I'm really looking forward to that. You'll get a great book on Samson out of that. And we'll say this, homework assignment will be a little bit different next time. Actually, every bit of my homework assignment next time is just writing assignment. So it'll be a little bit different next time. But anyway, I hope you've learned something. Here's what I want to talk to you about tonight. Improving your leadership potential. Improving your leadership potential. And as preachers and leaders in the church, we need to be good leaders. And I've learned this, that we can always be improving on our leadership potential and on our leadership skills. Matter of fact, Sunday night I preached at the church on working with criticism or coping with criticism, and how criticism comes our way. And David was criticized in 1 Samuel chapter number 17. His brother said, man, what are you even doing here? Who's with the few sheep? Right. He just didn't say who was with the sheep. He said, who's with the few sheep? He was very critical towards him. But David faced his criticism. David fixed his criticism, and David forgot about his criticism. And in leadership, anytime that I'm criticized, unless it's just absolutely off the wall, y'all understand what I'm saying there, but anytime there's some kind of criticism, I always will, even though I may not let that individual know it, I always take that criticism into consideration and evaluate myself off that criticism. But here's what I'm talking to you tonight. It's about leadership and about developing our leadership skills and developing and improving our leadership potential. I want to continue to improve in leadership. And Dr. House said this one time. He said, if you think you're a good leader, turn around and see who's following you. And I thought that was a good statement. There's a lot of good quotes on leadership. Matter of fact, Paul Chappell wrote one of the best books on the spiritual leader that I've ever read. And it's dynamite. You got it, don't you, Brother Jonathan? It's dynamite. I encourage everybody in here to get that book. Go ahead.
Podcast, John Maxwell.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh, my Lord. That's tops.
Yes.
Yes, John Maxwell. Write that down. He's on YouTube. He's on podcast.
He's
got unbelievable books. 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Dynamite. So
good deal.
That's good for church and life.
That's exactly right. Good deal. I'm glad you said that. So leadership. Let me show you 4 things tonight. Number 1, when we're thinking about leadership in the ministry, number 1, be realistic about ministry. Be realistic about ministry. What did he say in verse number 3? He says, endure hardness. Endure hardness. Now, the ministry's hard sometimes. It really is. There's times and we've made reference to a few things, but there's sometimes that it just gets tough in the ministry. Matter of fact, on Sunday night, Brother Josh was back at our church, and after service, we had our ministry growth team meeting, and Brother Heath leads it. So Brother Josh and I just went in the office and sat down, closed the door for probably close to an hour, and was talking about some issues that I'm having to deal with. And Brother Josh being gone practically from the church now, Willis Cap is voting on him on the end of the month. We can talk about that a little bit more than when he was really faithful to the church. And you got to be realistic about the ministry. Let me show you something right here about this. When you think about being realistic about the ministry, you got to think about some personal things. And let me show you three things. The pressure of personal expectations. Be realistic about the pressure of personal expectations. If you're not careful, you will put too much pressure on yourself by yourself. And you say, preacher, what do you mean? You'll expect some things from you that's just really not realistic. It's just really not realistic. You've got to be realistic about some things. Here's one thing that's just realistic. I've come to accept this, and I'm not saying that God can't do it, but where our geographical location is at our church, we're probably never going to run 1,000 people at Amazing Grace. I'm not saying that God can't do that, because God can do anything. Are you with me? But I'm being realistic about it at the same time. Don't, in the ministry, if you're not careful, you'll put a lot of pressure on yourself with personal expectations. Now, I want you to think about this. Ministry is seasonal. Ministry is seasonal tonight. What I mean by that is sometimes you sow, sometimes you water, and sometimes you have a harvest. Ministry is seasonal. Daddy called me on Sunday, and I'm just being honest. And me and Brother Brian, I said what I'm fixing to say. I don't know how many times, but if me and him both quit on the same Monday, we've said this for 5 years, I guess, or 6 years. If me and him both quit on the same Monday, there's going to be 2 churches without a pastor.
Don't call
It's
me out every month.
Brother Jimmy said he quits every Monday. It's seasonal. And what I'm saying, what I was leading to is this right here. On Sunday afternoon, Daddy called me and he said, "Hey, how did it go this morning?" And I said, "It's dead on the door down." I said, "Is Tyler and Dick's hat bad?" And I said, "I'm just being honest with you." I said, "You just have days like that." I said, "The altar was full. People said they got help." I said, "But personally, it's dry as cracker juice." And Sunday night, Daddy called back after service, and he said, "Well, praise God, how'd it go tonight?" I said, "It's worse than it was this morning." And he said, "You know what Harold Seitler said, don't you?" And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Harold Seitler said that he had a Sunday like that, and he came home and just decided that he was going to reload his gun and go back in on Wednesday night and pull the trigger again." He said, "So just load your gun back up and get ready to go back." Now, I said all that to say this: ministry is seasonal. Now, every time you walk into the pulpit, people's going to run the aisles and shout, and 15 is going to get saved. Ministry is seasonal. Ministry is about sowing. It's about sowing. Ministry is not about success. It's about faithfulness. Amen. Can I say that again? Ministry is not about success. It's about faithfulness. And if we'll be faithful, if we'll sow, if we'll learn that it's seasonal, then God will give the increase. The pressure of personal expectation, but also be realistic about your ministry, the pressure of personal expectation, but the pressure of personal loss. The pressure of personal loss. You said, "Preacher, what do you mean by that?" Here's what I mean by that. It's this. People will leave.
Yeah.
It's just, they're going to leave. Brother Josh and I pulled into the parking lot. He mentioned somebody's name, and I said, they're there part of the time on Sunday mornings now. And he said, "Man, I noticed the past few times I was there, they weren't there." People will leave. You know what else? People will die. That's just, I've got some people that's been at our church since I went there, and I'm not going to call no names, but man, they're getting on up in age. And boy, I'm starting to watch their age, or starting to watch their health as it fades. So the pressure of personal loss comes on us, the pressure of personal expectation. But the pressure of personal attacks, I'm talking about being realistic about the ministry, the pressure of a personal attack. You will be attacked in the ministry. Somebody is not going to like what you say somewhere along the way.
Sure. That's true.
Somebody's, watch this, they're not only going to attack you, they're going to attack your family in the ministry. I've said this many times in Amazing Grace. You talk about me all you want to, but when you go to talking about my wife and children, you're probably not going to have a pastor. Oh, I'm still going to go to church and I'm still going to preach in the pulpit, but it's going to lead from pastoring to I wouldn't even say Brother Barker. Are y'all with me right there?
Yes, sir.
You got to be realistic about this. The pressure of personal attacks. I wrote this down. Don't look on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you stand up on a Sunday morning or a Sunday night or even a Wednesday night and plow real deep, don't even get on social media the next couple of days because somebody's going to have a little jab to throw towards that. Here's what I do. If they leave, I unfollow them.
Yeah.
Especially if they left wrong. Brother Jonathan left and I unfollowed him because he didn't leave. No, I'm just picking. But if they leave, I just unfollow. And here's the thing. I just don't even go look at their Facebook.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the reason. I don't even go look at their Instagram or their Twitter. Let me tell you the reason why. Here's the reason why I get mad when I do and I want to go throat punch somebody.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Be realistic about the ministry. There's going to be the pressure of personal attacks. Go ahead, Brother Jimmy.
When somebody does leave your church, first of all, let them leave gracefully if they're going to leave.
Yes.
Secondly, do not coddle them to get them back in your ministry.
No.
If you have to beg somebody back, they will slice you up one day.
Yes, sir.
Now hear me, the biggest problems I've ever had in ministry were people that I, in my ignorance, begged.
Absolutely.
That's not meaning you don't go see them, doesn't mean you don't reach out to them, but stay off your knees and don't beg.
That's exactly right. I could talk so much about that. I stuck my neck out for one family with another family, and let me tell you what I ended up losing both families. Ended up losing both families. Husband, wife, and 3 children on both sides. Ended up losing 10 because of it. Go
I'll
ahead.
say this too, and y'all may think I'm crazy, and y'all may think that I'm liberal or what have you, but it's not the will of God for everybody to stay at your church.
No.
That's true.
I had an experience a few years ago where I did not want a young man to leave. I'll tell you who he is, Jonathan Gill. His daddy's my congregation leader, and we were going through a growth time, trying to grow. You know, we weren't there yet. We're still not there yet, but in my mind, I'm like, we're not even started yet. And he was a sharp young man, faithful, good tither. I mean, he was just in it. And he come up and said, "Preacher, I feel like God has led me to go with, back to my wife's church and work there. Brother Tim McCann's pastor there now." And I told him, I said, "Well, Brother Jonathan, here's what I told him. And y'all can disagree and y'all can get all bent out of shape over it. Here's what I told him. I said, Jonathan, I have enough confidence in you that I believe you've prayed about this. And I said, if you've prayed about it, then I trust you. I said, now, with me trusting you, it also makes you 100% accountable for the decision you're making. I said, but I want you to know you got my blessing and I love you. Come April, I'm going to help ordain you. If I'd have been ugly, and he's been back preaching for me, his daddy come up to me a month after he left, and he told me, he said, that the way you handled that, he said, solidified everything I already felt about you in this church.
That's true.
I know we want to try to perform the will of God for everybody. Guys, I don't know the will of God for anybody but me and Rebecca Simpson. And a lot of times we abuse our role as pastor. And I mean, this is something I've seen all my life. And you know what? There's something in the Baptist distinctives, and we'll probably do a class on that in the future. But there's something in Baptist distinctives called sole authority. Okay, we believe in sole authority. That S-O-L-E. We believe in the priesthood of the believer. And we've got to take our hands off. It is not, sometimes it is the will of God for somebody to leave your church. and you need to trust God.
Yeah, yeah. I
That goes against the grain, but it's right.
It's the truth. I may in my heart feel sometimes that somebody's missing it.
But
And there's sometimes that I'll say, well, in my heart, I feel this way. However, that's between you and the Lord.
Right.
That's between you and the Lord. And if that's what you think you're supposed to do, then that's between you and the Lord. And
The same
so,
is true on young preachers' ministries.
Yeah.
You can advise them. Same
Yeah.
is true on your young people getting married. I don't know who the will of God for anybody to marry is. I can line it up according to the Word of God and say, look, you need to pray about it. But at the end of the day, you're going to
Yeah.
make a lot of enemies. You're going to make a lot of enemies by stepping into places you have no business stepping. We got to preach that book
yeah.
and live it.
So be realistic.
I've made y'all mad.
Make me mad. Be realistic in your ministry. Be realistic in it. Number 2, look at this tonight. Be resolved in your priorities. Be resolved in your priorities. Verse number 22 says this, flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. So be resolved in your priorities. Opinions are what we hold. Convictions are what holds us. Be resolved in your priorities. I thought about this. Priorities that you need in your daily life is this. Let me just give you a couple of fellowship with God. You need fellowship with God. Priorities that you need in your daily life is your family. Is your family. Here is my priorities. Number 1, God. Number 2, Leslie. Number 3, Madeline Olivia Victoria. Number 4, the ministry. Are you with me? That is our priorities in our life. So be resolved in that. It's fellowship with God, with our family. Priorities that you need in your daily life is your ministry. It is your ministry. And I take the ministry serious. Amen. I should have got a bunch of amens right there. I take it serious. It's a serious thing. And here's another priority that you need. You need friendship. You need friendship. We need each other. And we can walk by ourselves, but we need each other. There is power in unity. And then I thought about this. He said that I follow after righteousness, faith, charity, peace. Be resolved in your priorities. Now, here's where I want to spend a little bit of time at tonight. Number 3, be responsible with your time. Be responsible with your time. I read this quote. It said, don't let the immediate overrun the important. Don't let the immediate overrun the important. There's one thing that I've had to learn, and I can't remember who it was that I was talking to this week, but we was talking about it. But there's one thing that I've had to learn, and it's the word no. And that's a hard word for me. Because if Brother Chris calls and needs something, then I'm just having to drop everything that I'm doing and go. If Brother Foster calls and needs something, I'm just having to drop everything I'm doing and go. Now, I want you to hear me right here. If it's a life or death situation or some major tragedy, that's a difference. But there does come a time when we have to learn to say no. We have to be responsible with our time. We have to be responsible with our time. What did he say in verse number 15? He said, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Now, the only way you're going to be able to study to show yourself approved unto God is if you're responsible with your time. Yeah. Is if you're responsible with your time. I want to give you a couple of things right here. And I hope nobody falls out with me as I go through these. I want to give you a couple of things. Number 1, I would say this in being responsible with your time. I would say this, learn to plan your days. Learn to plan your days. Now, I understand a lot of you here works a secular job, and I know some of us in here is full-time in the ministry, but whether we're full-time in the ministry, whether we're working a full-time job, learn to plan your days. One of the best things that I ever done was to put a day planner on my desk. And not just put it there, but write in it. And not just write in it, but follow it. Not just follow it, but stick to it. That's one of the best things I ever done. It's when I know what I've got to do tomorrow. You know, let me tell you the reason why. Before Brother Josh got to the office this evening to meet me, right before he got there, you know what I done? I looked at my day plan. In the morning, I've got devotions at 8:30 at the sheriff's office. I've got devotions at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at the sheriff's office. And from 8:30 to about 9 o'clock, I'll be in the morning devotions from about 9 o'clock to around 10 or 10:30. I'll be in what's called our CID with all of our detectives. I'll be over there. And then around 10 or 10:30, I'll leave and I'll come back home. And from around 10 or 10:30 to 2 o'clock, to 2:15, right in there, then I'll be in my study getting the rest of my thoughts together to preach tomorrow night. And then around 2:15 or 2:20, I'll leave, and then I'll go back to the sheriff's office. I'll do our afternoon devotions in CID, and then around 3:30, I'll leave from there. I'll come back home, and I'll continue finishing my thoughts tomorrow night and reviewing things for tomorrow night. And then around 5, because I like to eat early on Wednesday because I'm going to preach, I'll eat supper. And then after I eat supper, I'll immediately go back to the church and continue reviewing everything for tomorrow night. Plan your day. Plan your day. I thought about this, the important things first. The important things first. You know what? If I'm studying tomorrow afternoon at 12 o'clock and Brother Brian calls and says, hey, let's run to Cedarbrook and get 9 in before we have church tonight, I'm going to have to say no, Brother Brian, because I'm studying right now. Now, he didn't say no yesterday when I said, let's go to Cedarbrook and get 9 in, but the demon's got his homework done anyway. Plan your day. Plan your day. A matter of fact, we can rewind that to Saturday because I called him Saturday and said, you want to get 9 in Monday afternoon? And if you was to go look at my day planner, you know what it says? 2:30, and then it's drawn out the rest of the day, golf and family time. I mean, you got to have a balance, y'all, with me right there. Golf and family time. And plan your day. And I want to say this, in planning your day, when you get into the ministry, especially as you begin to grow in the ministry, as God begins to open more doors, you better plan some family time and plan some time to set your phone to the side and turn your phone off and just spend time with your family. Learn to say no. Plan your days, the important things first. And then I wrote this down as you think about it, plan your weeks, plan your months, and even plan your year. If you was to walk into our church office right now, there's a calendar for 2020 that's put up there. Our meetings is on it. Our leadership training that we do once a quarter is on there. Our revivals is on there. Our missionaries that's booked for this year is on. Every bit of it's right there. I like to be organized and I like to have structure. I don't do good without that. So plan your days. Think about this. Be responsible for your time. Plan your events. Not only your days, but plan your events. Now, let me say something on this. Organize, vocalize, utilize. Let me say that again. Organize, vocalize, utilize. Can I illustrate it? Brother Jeremiah needs help in the public schools, and that's been a burden to my heart. But I know that I cannot, there's no way possible that I can dedicate 2 days a week to him. With everything that's going on in the ministry, with the family, with the irons that I already have, I know there's no way. I also know that there's a great possibility, a great open door in 4 or 5 juvenile correctional facilities around an hour to an hour and a half from us. I know that. But there's no way that I can commit to going into them 1 time a month. So you know what happened on Saturday morning? I met with a group of guys, and Brian will fill you in on all of it. I knew you was at the beach dealing with demons. But I met with a group of guys, and here's what I done. I organized. I got them together. I vocalized. I said, here's the need. And you know what's happening now? We're beginning to utilize, because we're going to have a training session here on the 21st and 22nd. So plan your events. I thought about this. Big events brings visitors. We have 2 or 3 big events at our church every year. Matter of fact, we're fixing to roll into our biggest month of the year at Amazing Grace is the month of March. We do what is called March Madness. And it's usually, we'll have between 50 and 75 first-time visitors in the month of March every year. So plan that. You know what we was doing on Sunday night? We've got a ministry growth team at our church. And you know what Brother Heath was doing on Sunday night? I was meeting with Brother Josh. Brother Heath was organizing that meeting. He was vocalizing the needs that we needed from that. And now we begin to utilize that. So think about that. Now, when you have your big events, I want to say this in passing. Always follow up with your visitors. Always follow up with it. Always. If you visit our church for the first time, you're going to get a visitor's card. You're going to get an invitation after service to meet with my wife and I, and us give you a visitor's packet from our church. And then also that Monday morning, Miss Stephanie's going to put a letter in the mail to you saying that we appreciated you being there. And somewhere over the next 2 to 3 weeks, somebody from our church, and a lot of times it's me, is personally going to knock on your door and say thank you for coming. So when you're thinking about being responsible with your time, plan your days, plan your events. But then I want to say this, and somebody's not going to like this. Somebody's going to fall out with me on this. Plan your preaching. Plan your preaching. And you say, well, preacher, I'm not going to plan my preaching. I'm just well, just stay with me a minute. Stay with me a minute. When you go to preaching 3 times a week, and then God lets you go to preaching some revival meetings on top of that, and then you go to doing other things in the ministry. You go to running Mercy and Truth in the ministry. You know what you're going to have to do? You have to plan some things. Now, I understand there's sometimes God changes our mind. And when He does, you know what I do? I just push that to the side. And I'll pick it back up the next week. Right now, on our Wednesday night, in our Wednesday night services. And again, I'm going to get criticized on this, but that's all right. Right now in our Wednesday night services, I'm about 11 or 12 weeks ahead of what I'm preaching on Wednesday nights. And I'm dealing with recognizing the enemy. Our theme this year is fighting the good fight of faith. And yes, sir.
Why can God not answer a prayer 6 months ago?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Why can you not pray, Lord, what would you have me preach in a series?
Yes, sir.
It's the same thing.
Series is, and I'm going to tell you, when you
It
start...
makes you accountable. Systematic study
Yes,
makes
sir.
the pastor accountable to not just sling it out his sleeve.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm sure, Brother Brian, I'm sure you probably do series. Matter of fact, you was talking about Micah or something other.
We're doing Malachi.
Malachi.
That's
It's Micah a book. Micah's a book.
You don't know.
He just asked us if Michael.
Yeah, it's a book. But plan your preaching. Plan your preaching. If I'm going into a revival meeting, you know, usually 2 or 3 weeks before I get to that meeting, I've already got a little bit in my mind probably what I'm going to be preaching at that meeting. I've already got, now there is times. Matter of fact, that Brother Graham it was one of the times that I was sitting on the pew looking at what I was fixing to preach. Daughters of Calvary was singing the last song they was going to sing, and God completely changed me. And I wrote down 3 little things on a piece of paper that Madeline or Olivia one handed me and preached it right then. And God helped me. Man, I'm telling you, He helped me preach that night. But plan your preaching. You should try to be ahead in preaching. Your preparation and material will be better. Don't you hear what I'm fixing to say? It will be better if you spend more than an hour on it.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be better. You know what? Saturday, all day on Saturday. I'm trying to think what I've done this past Saturday. Oh, no, I didn't play golf. That was yesterday. That was the first time I played all year, by the way. Y'all will get that a little hot. We eat Saturday morning, didn't we, Jeremiah? We eat Saturday morning. And I had a birthday party to go to Saturday evening. But can I tell you something? I was completely relaxed all day on Saturday because all my studying was done. I knew what I was preaching both services. I already had those thoughts in my mind. Now, Saturday evening, I type my final thoughts. But if something that I had of came up, I'm gonna tell you something, man. When you start pastoring, you'd be sitting at home on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock trying to cram everything in your mind, and all of a sudden, Billy gets rushed to the hospital, and it's a life or death situation, and you're at the hospital the rest of the evening and halfway through the night, and you come home and sleep an hour or two. I have come home and not even slept. Took a shower and walked to the church and preached. So learn to manage your time. Learn to prepare. Learn to be responsible with your time. I really believe in all of my heart. I really believe in all of my heart. I really believe in all of my heart that we're going to give an account to God for the way that we manage our time. And there's a lot of preachers. There's a lot of preachers that just nonchalantly waste a lot of time in the ministry. They waste a lot of time.
Amen.
So be responsible with your time. Let me show you one more thing. Be realistic about the ministry. Be resolved in your priorities. Be responsible with your time. And I really wish you had a lot of time to spend right here. Be relational in your leadership. I consider it two different types of leadership. There's positional leadership and relational leadership. Positional leadership is this: do it because I am the pastor.
Right.
Positional leadership. You've met those people. The reason you do this is because I'm the captain. That's why you do it. Ryan, Detective Hayes, goes, I'm the one that's got the bars on my collar, not you. That is a positional leadership. And I'm going to tell you something, man. If you ever want to grow your church, you cannot be a positional leader. You must learn to be a relational leader. Listen to this. Brother Mike Edwards said this last year in the Oasis Conference. And since he said this, I have put it in practice. I've tried my best for the past year to put it in practice, and I'm telling you it works. He said, build a people, not places. Build people, not places. He looked at me, he and his wife Leslie and I was sitting on that Friday, and here's what he said. He said, learn to pour yourself into everybody else, and when you're dead and gone, you'll still be living. You know what he was saying? Be a relational leader. Build people. Don't build places, man. Pour your life into everybody else. Think about this. A relational leader will put people first, give people your undivided attention, and they'll make others around them better. Let me tell you what I can't stand. I can't stand to be talking to somebody, and while I'm talking to them, they're doing this right here.
Yep. Amen.
I just, you know what, let me tell you really what it makes me want to do. It makes me want to grab the phone out of their hand and sling it.
Yep.
It really does. It really does. It's so disrespectful. It really is. And I have watched people try to talk to their pastor before, and their pastor be like this. Oh, okay, I'll get with you on that. Oh, okay. Man, look, if we're going to be the right kind of leaders, give them our undivided attention. Look at them eyeball to eyeball. Drop everything you're doing. If somebody wants to talk to you, make time to talk to them. There's some that makes me want to pull my hair out straight. But you know what I do? You know what I do sometimes on a Sunday night after service? I'll tell you exactly what I do. We have a hospitality room at our church. And let me tell you what I do sometimes on Sunday night after service. Right before service starts, I'll walk up to them and I'll go, you busy after service? No. I tell you what, Leslie and I need to talk to y'all. Just a second. I don't think it's anything bad. It's nothing bad. We just want to talk to y'all just a second. Can y'all meet us in the hospitality room after service? As soon as I'm done shaking hands, I'll meet you back there. Miss Leslie will already be back there. She'll have the coffee pot on. We'll drink a cup of coffee. I want to talk to you a minute. And you know what I'll do? Here's exactly what I'll do. I'll go back there, and before I go in the room, I'll go. I'll get me a cup of coffee. I'll get me a drink out of the refrigerator, and I'll sit down and I'll go, how's your week been? We hadn't talked in a while. How's things going? How's kids doing? How's school going for them this year? And you know what you're doing? You're being a relational leader. You're building people and not places. You're building people and not places. And give them your undivided attention, man. Learn to love them. Did you catch that? Learn to love them. Because there's some that you have to learn to love.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest with you. I'm just being, my type personality gets on some of y'all's nerves probably. And I promise you some of y'all's personality probably gets on my nerves. But you know what? We're all made different. I may have been talking about him, but anyway, be relational in your leadership. Give that person your attention. I love young preachers. I love young preachers. And let me tell you one reason I try my best to invest in them is because when I am dead and gone, your ministry will live on. It will. You know what? Dr. Hiles is dead tonight, but we made reference to him. And I know everybody's got their own opinion about him, but I'm going to tell you something. He had something going right years ago.
Yeah.
He had something right. You know what? You know what? Dr. Seitler's gone today. Dr. Seitler's gone today. But we talk about it today. Let me tell you the reason why they poured their lives in the other way. You know what Dr. Seitler done one time? He used to would take his Bible. Some of y'all see where I get this idea from now. He used to would take his Bible and he'd take some of his preacher boys to the side and he'd set it down and say, "You got 5 minutes, boys. You got 5 minutes." And he would let them go through his Bible. They could take pictures then. Write all the notes that they could write. And you know what I done the other day? And I'm no great preacher, I know that. But you know what I done the other day with our preachers at the church? I gave Brother Jerry a blind Bible. And you know what I done though? I walked in there and I laid down honestly, 1,000 outlines. And 5 Bibles that I preached out of in my ministry. And I said, "You got 15 minutes. And I put them on a stopwatch. And at 15 minutes, I took them up, didn't I, Brother Ryan? I took them up. Be relational in your leadership. Be responsible with your time. Be resolved in your priorities. And be realistic about the ministry. Father, we love you. Thank you for being good to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
5 minutes, boys. You're